G'day everyone, and welcome to a very special tutorial stream.
Fuel critical.
Yes, thank you lady, my fuel's critical. I'm in creative, it's fine. I have Lucas with me today to help me understand and make a much updated version of the Assertive Cargo Ships mod and Assertive installations, and basically any mod with his new mod, Rival AI. And thank you very much, Lucas, for helping me with this.
Not a problem.
So for those of you not familiar, Lucas is responsible for MES, for Rival AI, for about 1,000 other useful mods on the workshop. But at least for me, in terms of the NPC content, his are some of the most important in terms of making the game remain fun once you've got a whole lot of materials. So I'm very lucky, and what we're going to do today, but using Rival AI to have some more interesting behavior. The plan at the moment is have this spawn like a normal planetary cargo ship, where it'll start in one position, it'll fly through the atmosphere and get to its despawn position, and once it gets there, it'll despawn. If the player gets within a certain range, it's going to send you an in-game chat message going, "Ooh, no, don't get too close, you're naughty, stay away." And then if you get closer still, it's going to spawn one of these little drones that'll come after you and target you with its single Gatling gun at the front. Then, to take things further, and this is where things get interesting with Rival AI versus just using the antenna spawning, because most of what I've said so far you can do with the antenna. This is where things get fun, which is if this gets damaged, I want this ship to call in more of these drones. So initially it'll be just the one, and then if you go in and actually do some damage, it's going to spawn another 2, or if Lucas can teach me how, maybe a random number between 2 and 4. So if you're unlucky, you could actually get hit really hard. And then also, if you get within the close range of this ship, instead of it tootling along, things we need to do is one, test to see whether this drone works well enough for the use with his Rival AI Autopilot. It would help if I turned the battery off recharge, wouldn't it? Auto. There we go. So Lucas, you were saying that you've got most of these drones set up so that they would have to stop on a dime for your autopilot to work?
Yeah. From what I can see right now, though, that looks like it's working pretty good.
Yeah, it's a nice light little drone. It's got just the bare minimum on it. Do I need to do any particular setup with the remote control to make this usable? Does it need to have a camera attached to it? Anything like that?
Nope, none of that's necessary. I mean, you can have a camera if you want. It would just be mostly decorative at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, I figured that might be the case. Alright, let's give this little ship a name. Ah, yeah, Ultimate Ragnarok. Do you think you could make it call in drones from far away and have them close in on the position? Lucas showed me something that says, yes, you can do that. Is that correct? You should be able to have the drones kind of come in from a kilometre or so away and look like they're coming in from a support position rather than just spawning immediately around.
Yep, that's certainly possible.
See? There we go. What to call this drone? Let's just call it Mosquito, because it is little and annoying and not particularly harmful.
Fuel
unless you're
critical.
unlucky. And I will just give it some ammunition as well.
Energy
Not that I need to,
low.
because I know we can do that in other ways. Have you got the chat open, Lucas? For Twitch?
One sec.
Because Isaac's just saying it would have been great if you'd run your voice through a creepy filter.
I don't have anything like that. Hey, maybe next time.
Yeah. So, what we first need to do is create the exports of both of these grids. So F11, because I'm in offline mode, if I copy, press F11 and go export clipboard to file. So that's the mosquito out. I want to edit this, rename. Okay. Let's just get rid of that one, and then I'll paste the other one in because I want to make sure that the name is correct for what I'm looking for, because it makes life a bit easier later. So F11 again, export clipboard to file. Now we hear the garbage truck in the background, but we'll just ignore that. Now we go into folders. So what I've done is I've gone to the app data roaming space engineers mods folder, and then I've created a Rival AI tutorial folder. If we go back to space engineers and go to export, we've got our two craft files here. Move them into mods, into Rival AI tutorial, and I'll paste them there. And now this is where Lucas starts teaching me what I need to do next. Because
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So one sec, I'll send you the starter file here.
The one that you sent me from this link?
Oh, actually, well, yeah, we need that one, I suppose. Yeah, we'll start with the spawn groups. That'll be the best place to start with it, I suppose.
Sure. So this is so for this thing, we need to have what files do we need to have? I may as well just create each one and then we can modify them and put the stuff we need to have in.
Yeah, so we need a spawn group for each of those ships. You can add them in the same file or put them in separately. It's up to you.
And it's just spawn groups.sbc, isn't it?
Yeah, you can actually name that whatever you want as well. So if you want to call it spawn groups light, medium, heavy, you can go that route as well.
Huh. So we've got a spawn groups.sbc. Then what else do we need?
Then for each of the prefabs, we're going to create a behaviors file. So you might just call it the name of the prefab or the name of the spawn group, and then behavior at the end.
So Bulldog Behavior and Mosquito Behavior?
Yeah, that'll work.
Wait, I need to spell it. I can spell it North American for now. Without the U.
Yeah, Keen likes to use that in a lot of theirs, except for like one place in the code it uses the U. Everywhere else it doesn't. It's
You're kidding. That feels weird to type. I'm so not used to that. There we go. So we got Bulldog Behavior, Mosquito Behavior, and I'm going to create a folder called Prefabs because I prefer to have that nested because it makes it easier to keep track of things. And could I also create a folder that says Behaviors?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that. I just like these things be a bit neat because I know once I get this as part of the Assertive cargo ships, I'm going to have a lot that's needed. Cool. So what other files do we need to create?
I think we've just about scaffolded up everything we need to, so we just need to get them filled out now.
Okay, so let's open up the spawn groups.sbc and Notepad++. We don't need to open the prefabs, but we'll open each of the behaviors. Cool. So the spawn groups.sbc, Lucas has sent me the spawn group definition example, which is, it's linked somewhere through the Module Encounters admin and modders guide, isn't it? Everything in here and paste it in here so that we can start working out our spawn groups, because I'm going to need to have two separate spawn groups, one for the Bulldog and one for the Mosquito. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Why Is that all staying in black text, not changing colors like it normally does?
Try going up to language and changing it to XML.
That's better. Thank you. That looks more normal to me. Chat's talking about a mod that Wasted made to try and damage all grids that weren't pressurized, which I thought was an awesome thing, and I thought it would have been great fun to have a planet like that set up, but I don't think he's pursued the idea further, so we'll see. So, back to the spawn groups. Type ID needs to be unique. The subtype ID, sorry.
Yeah, subtype.
The subtype ID needs to be unique, and it needs to be unique to each spawn group type that you want. So if you want one prefab to be spawned in multiple different ways, then you'll need to have that subtype ID being unique for each different way that it spawns. What I mean by that is I've got some things in the Assertive Installations mod that will spawn with the antenna renamed to a different thing, renamed to a different name to spawn different stuff. So that sort of change needs a whole new spawn group. At least it did. And thank you, Dragnon and Mr. Titan 40k. The Night Florist, eh? Is that your other name, Titan? So, subtype ID, let's go with Easy Bulldog as the first one. Now, it is a modular encounter spawn group. It is not a space cargo ship. It is not a lunar cargo ship. Or are we removing those? Did I not get the updated? Because you said you changed that.
Oh yeah, no, you have the updated one. Any tags that you're not using, like for the space, lunar, etc., you can remove those. They don't need to stay there.
Although I think it may sometimes be good practice to leave them in there so that you can copy and paste these to fill them out with other things later.
It's entirely up to how you wanna use it.
Atmospheric cargo ship is true. Planetary installation is false. Rival AI spawn should be set to true. Yes.
Not for the cargo ship. The Rival AI spawn tag. That's if we're actually spawning it from Rival AI. So, that's what we'll probably use for the drone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's change the faction owner because I'm going to call it an assertive one. Replenish systems. Now, I'm going to leave this as false. The reason being that I'm more... Hey, Super Happy. Another very prolific mod with Lucas's mods. How's it going, man?
True. So the first one says, hey, this spawn has Rival AI enabled prefabs. The next tag actually scans the prefab and replaces the vanilla remote control block with a modded one that is used by the Rival AI mod to make it do the things.
Cool. So put them both as true. Don't need to worry about that. Is pirate... Does is pirate matter anymore so much?
Not really. You can even remove the whole tag if you want. As long as the description area has that modular encounter spawn group initial tag in it, then a lot of the default keen tags are more or less ignored now. Yeah.
So that was a tag that we needed for using the antenna spawning system, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's also kind of a carryover from back when the planetary cargo ships and planetary installations mods were a thing.
Yeah.
We used that to stop them from spawning by the vanilla spawner.
Yep. And then what we've got here is the frequency tag. The frequency tag is, while we've just got a single spawn group, not particularly relevant. It's only once we've got multiple spawn groups, because the frequency creates a ratio of what spawn between the spawn groups. So say I've got 5 things that I want to spawn a lot of, and then a rare boss type encounter, I'll make the boss one have a much lower frequency. That's correct, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. I understand a lot of this, but not all of it.
Yeah. With frequency, I find the best way to kind of think of that is think of each point of frequency as a ballot that goes into a box, and then at spawning, the mod sticks its hand in the box and picks one out at random.
Yeah.
So in this case, this group has 5 tickets, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's got all 5 tickets. So the next bit is the subtype ID for the prefab. This needs to match perfectly to the file name of the SBC of the exported blueprint. So that's this. I usually, for simplicity's sake, tend to, at least for most of my things, match the subtype ID up here with the actual prefab one. But there are reasons for that not always matching. Like when I've created a medium difficulty version of the same ship that spawns different stuff, the subtype ID will be M in here, but we'll still be using the activation distance. 20 kilometers should be reasonable, shouldn't it?
Now that's actually the tag I thought I got rid of, so you can actually remove that one altogether.
Do I need to get rid of the behavior tag or leave that in there as well?
No, we are going to use that one, but we'll come back to that after we've sort of built up the actual behavior file.
All right. So apparently my version didn't refresh from GitHub that Lucas had done. So in terms of how large the frequency number can be, you can kind of use whatever ratios you want, can't you? Like you could use 100 as your base number, or you could use 5, or you could use 2. Is that right for the frequency?
It used to be the case that if you used really high numbers, you might throw off the balance of other mods as well. But a while back, I actually made it so that it's sort of equalized per mod. So if you wanted to use higher numbers, then you can, and it shouldn't affect anything that any of the other mods are using. Yeah,
so it's sort of like you pick out of one pot which mod you're going to spawn from, and then you pick out of a second pot which thing from that mod it gets spawned.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's pretty much all we need to do. So now we've got the first spawn group. We also need to create the spawn group for the mosquito. So the easy way to do that is to drag and copy all that, and then change what we need to change for the mosquito. So that will be, change this to mosquito. And change this to mosquito. And we also want to change this from atmospheric cargo ship to false. Because if you don't do that, you have the situation that happened. Can I increase the font size? Probably. That's probably better, isn't it? I can't do it with the folder ones, but at least I can do it with Notepad++. That's likely a lot easier to see on stream. There we go. So with the mosquito, we have a space. We want to make sure that it's not an atmospheric cargo ship. When I first did Assertive, I left a couple of drones in, so people were getting randomly attacked by just straight up drones, just hunting them down and going straight after them, which was a little awkward. And this should be a Rival AI spawn, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
For the mosquito. Faction owner Assertive. Replenish systems false. Use Rival AI true. And do I need to set a speed here?
No. The speed for
this will
drones
be
that have active
defined
behavior, I believe it'll. Yeah, and I think it defaults to 100 anyway, but we can set it to whatever the heck we want anyway.
Okay. Cool. So that is our spawn groups.sbc file ready to go. There'll be a few more modifications to do with it after this. So let's move on to the Bulldog behavior. Is that the best next step?
Actually, before we move on, for the mosquito, we want to maybe add. Well, actually, maybe not. I was thinking maybe we add the extra tags for minimum and maximum air density, but where it's going to be spawned from a atmospheric cargo ship to begin with. I don't think we'll have to worry about that.
Yeah, we should probably set that more for the cargo ship. because at least with my designs, I tend, although we could define it for both, with my designs, the bigger ships tend to be the ones that are struggling more than the drones. The drones tend to be a lot more capable of flying than the cargo ships. Largely because I'm not doing anything interior-wise to make them pretty, I'm just making them mean.
Yeah.
Or in the case of a lot of the ones I use, Pav was making them mean because he designed a lot of the drones that I use. Lucas is too polite, he's breaking my immersion. It's the polite ones you got to worry about. You got to watch the ones that are nice.
Oh no, I was just wondering.
Whistles innocently. Right, so move on to Bulldog Behavior, or do you reckon we start with the drone behavior? Which one's better to have set up first?
Probably the Bulldog first.
Okay. So we got a nice blank SPC here. Now, do we have an example behavior file, or should I start writing this one from scratch with your guidance?
We do have it. This one's actually in the guide for a change.
So behavior profiles. So let's grab all that. Now we'll copy that and paste it in here. And language XML. There we go. So that's our base behavior file for the Bulldog. I'll just paste one in for the Mosquito as well so I don't have to copy it again later.
Alrighty.
And there we go. So now, Bulldog.
Alrighty.
I might... Because if I'm planning on using this behavior profile for multiple ships, can I do that?
Oh, yeah.
So if I make this a generic assertive cargo ships, Atmo easy sort of thing. So this would be the way, the behavior profile that the easiest ones would use. Good. Okay. Now,
all right, so the first thing, or
yeah, you go.
the next thing I guess we want to do is the behavior name. We're going to change that from fighter to passive.
Right. So the examples of these are somewhere, I think. So
you'd have to go back a page and then go into
behavior
core system. Or actually, oh yeah, no, it was behavior specific. I can't even remember my own stuff now.
That's all right. So we've got here the fighter behavior, which gives us some indications of what you can do with fighters. Passive behaviors, which are basically the standard cargo ship type behavior, isn't it?
Yeah, this one doesn't do anything with autopilot or weapons or anything like that. It's more or less just a blank template that you can use triggers with.
Yeah. Cool. So we've got our passive behavior, and now we have to start defining our triggers. Yes?
Yep. So the triggers will actually be in the core system tags.
Okay. Everyone. So this is saying what'll happen if damage. So we can use. Okay, I think you might need to explain this one to me again, because I think I might confuse people if I try.
Yep. For actually that little chart there. So the behavior profile, that's sort of the main thing that everything attaches to.
Yep.
For the whole behavior, they're more or less linked by multiple definition files. So, and we'll get into that when we start creating our trigger profile, and that just shows sort of the relation of where they go and what files you should put certain sub-profiles into.
So
we'll scroll down just a little bit more, and we should find the trigger section.
Okay. So actions that get... So what we want... So do we want to define the triggers first, and then we'll define the actions that occur on the triggers?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so triggers. So we want to create a trigger profile for this cargo ship so that it can be able to react in ways to predefined events. So damage, things too close, that sort of stuff. And more complex things that hopefully I'll learn how to do later down the line so that I can make assertive cargo ships less predictable.
So the example you've got in front of you right now, that's actually if it goes into its own file. I'll show you what to copy to put it into the same file, because we're actually going to try to keep everything in one file per encounter.
Yep.
So let's go back up to the top for a second.
Mm-hmm.
There's a line there that says it's just a single tag triggers, and then it has a subtype ID for
this one
example. Yep. So we're going to copy that, and we're going to paste it right below our behavior name.
Okay. Cool.
And we'll give that one a name similar to your subtype ID for the behavior, but maybe we'll put at the end, instead of behavior, trigger A.
Trigger A, which later on we may define that a bit more clearly once we've defined all the different behaviors, so that you know what triggers mean what, I presume. So we do that as chat proximity in this instance, because that was the furthest, and then drone spawn proximity, that sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can call them
whatever you want to name it that you can remember what it's called, but we'll just stick with trigger A for now.
Yeah, whatever
Actually,
works.
I like trigger A, because I might do A for furthest away, B for closer, C, and then D for damage.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, I think that'll be a nice consistent nomenclature so that I can do different things with them later on. Yeah, cool. So trigger A, then what do I need to do next?
So back on the web page, the code blob there,
yep.
About the fourth line down, the line that says entity component,
yep.
We're going to copy all of that, and then we're going to go, just below the one you have selected. Yeah.
Yep.
And then down to right about there.
And then that's going to go in here.
2 lines down from where your cursor is.
Oh, it's another one, right. Yep. Because it's after the previous entity component, and then there's another one here.
Yeah.
Yep. So I might just create a gap there. Oh, right. Yep. Some more of this is making sense to me now. This is the bit that would have been in a separate file, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, so back on the web page, we're going to scroll down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So that little table there, that's a few of the different trigger types we have. I'll run through them for you here. The timer is what it does on the tin. It just executes the trigger every X amount of time. The player near is something that happens when the player gets too close, and that's what we're going to be using here for the most part. Damage reacts whenever damage is taken on the grid. We'll use that as well. Then there's one where, for a turret target, that's if the ship that's the behavior is attached to picks up a target on its turret. Target in safe zone triggers if the target it's chasing all of a sudden moves into a safe zone.
It can then be belligerent and start insulting you.
Yeah, something like that. I may or may not have an example of that somewhere.
Yep.
And no weapon, that runs if all the weapons on a drone or ship are removed or damaged, so you can maybe have it retreat or something to that effect.
So that one's quite an interesting one, because I was talking to Lucas about this just before the stream. I like the idea of the support drones not really giving the player much in the way of loot. So if they run out of ammunition, I'd like to execute something like, would no weapon work if they run out of ammunition?
I think that might be the case. I'd have to double check.
Because if it did, then as the drone runs out of ammunition, it could either just straight up despawn, or ideally fly away and then despawn, rather than giving the player a drone that's detoothed and is just easy pickings then.
Yeah. And for that last one, command receive, that one's not fully implemented yet, but the idea what that's going to do is it's going to allow a grid to broadcast a message that goes out to any other grid in the area, and if their command codes match, you could have events where, say maybe your Bulldog ship, for example, was being attacked, and there were other active drones in the area. You could tell those drones to converge on the target that caused the damage to it.
Or if a base is being attacked, it can call in assistance from any cargo ships that are flying near.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. No, I was really excited when you told me about that the first time. That sounds like the kind of dynamic change like the Reavers bring into the game that makes the world feel much more alive, because the Reavers don't just interact with the player, they interact with the other stuff that's there. Oh, good one, Eisen. Thanks for dropping that. Link to Lucas's channel. Cool. So do we want to add the trigger now, or should we go through more of this before?
Yeah, we'll get the trigger all set up here.
Okay. So we're going to be using a player near trigger because I wanted a proximity trigger for a in-game chat command to come out.
Yeah. So there's a table just below what we were looking at there, and the first one in there is type, and that's actually what we're going to be using.
Okay. So what do I need to do?
For the type tag, you'll just select or copy that out of the tag format row.
So I'll copy that, and then that goes in.
Yep, just right underneath that
here?
tag there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then we'll replace the word value with player near.
Capitalization is important.
Indeed.
Okay, and then should I change this subtype ID?
Yeah, actually, I thought we did that already.
Well, we changed it up here.
Oh, right.
So that should match that trigger, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So what I can just do is just copy this and paste it in over the top of that. Jackson's asking if the chat messages can change based on which character model the player is using.
I might have had plans for that.
Or if player name equals Capac Amaru.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe doing something with Steam IDs. That way you can have some fun that way.
That would be cool. I would love to put some little Easter eggs in to mess with Capac. Right, so now we've got our trigger.
Yeah. So the next one we'll want to use is the that use trigger tag, and we're gonna set that to true.
So I'm gonna copy that. We're gonna paste it below and change this to true. Which is, you can see here that basically we're using the tag and then using an allowed value. Target distance. So this will be the bit where I set when this occurs in terms of how close the player is.
Yeah.
So sort of distance I'd want this to go at would be, let's say, 3 kilometers. So that would be 3,000?
Yeah.
Yep. Or this inside antenna thing, I imagine, is your bit that replaces the vanilla antenna spawning mechanic.
Sort of. This
Or could replace it, I should say. But can do more than just that.
Right. You could use this as a constraint that forces chat messages to only go out if there's an active antenna on the grid. So that's something I do with a lot of my other mods. If the antenna doesn't exist on whatever's trash talking, then you won't get those chat messages.
Oh, okay. So it has to have in kind of an in-game way, it has to have a broadcast means to be able to send that to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I might have something on the chat profile that controls that too, but I can't quite remember. One sec, I'll check.
That's a really cool idea. Could you set something to act like a satellite by using cargo ship AI but out of atmosphere? Ragnarok, I don't believe you would be able to. The sort of one of the problems with orbital stuff is just the scale. There's just so many opportunities for things to go wrong. I've seen, I think Spets did a orbital thing. I don't know whether it was his script or whether it was someone else's, but he did a video where he'd set something up in orbit, and it seemed incredibly complicated to make sure something gradually moved at the correct angles to stay in space but near a planet. I think it's impressive enough that Lucas has managed to get these cargo ships to fly in a straight line between 2 points around the planet. Oh. Thanks, Big James, eh?
Okay, here we go. Yeah,
Yep.
Actually, yeah, in the chat
there we
profile,
go. Super Happy has orbit stations. I knew thought it was possible, but hard. Yeah, sorry, Lucas.
Yeah, so in the chat profiles, once we get to there, it actually does require an antenna to be enabled for the chat messages to go out. You can actually override that as well, so that if it doesn't have an antenna, you can still use it. But for the defaults, if there's no antenna, then they won't get any of those messages. So if someone snipes it off with a railgun from 5 kilometers away, then none of those warnings are going to go out. But then again, the damage thing should kick in by then.
Yeah.
So we don't need the inside antenna tag, but the actual chat profile will specify the antenna requirement on that end when we get there.
Okay. Do we need player near position offset?
Nope. What that one does, though, this is kind of interesting. If you had it kind of works like a sensor without a sensor. So you can specify an offset position from where the remote control is. For example, if you set maybe Z to 200, then the player near trigger will create itself 200 meters in front of the remote control instead of right at the remote control position. So you could have small little radiuses in a base that have triggers attached to them. So maybe if they walk up to the entrance, it says, "Welcome, please go away."
And that could work for how you do stuff with glitchy too, couldn't it?
It could, yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. So you can set up. So instead of having to do like stuff with the visual scripting tool to have events happen within a base, I can have events happen within a base that's spawned with MES. That's epic. Yeah. Oh man, I could have so much fun with that.
Alrighty. So the next one, there's below here, there's 2 cooldown tags, min cooldown and max. These are measured in milliseconds. The trigger system, it runs every half second, so every 500 milliseconds it checks everything and sees if it can execute. In the case of this one, though, I don't think we'll need to use this, only because chances are you're only going to send off that one warning.
Yeah.
And then if they come back, or if they come closer, then the final warning and etc. We don't want the warning to be constantly going off if the player's just kind of hovering around.
Yep.
So the starts ready tag, the way that works is if you do have a behavior with a cooldown, the first run of it will ignore the cooldown. So let's say, for example, maybe I have that player near on a 30-second timer.
Yep.
But the player gets there within 15 without starts ready turned on. They'd have to wait another 15 seconds before that chat message appears.
Yeah. Okay. So that it would start ready to trigger, but then we'll have to wait for the cooldown the second time, not the first time.
Right.
Yeah.
So max actions, we probably will use this one, and we're gonna set that to 1, so that way it runs its one message, and that's it.
There we go. Then actions.
Yep, we're gonna copy that one, and the value that goes in there is going to be the name of the action profile that we set up. So we'll probably name it similar to what our trigger profile is, so ACS-AtmoEZ-Action A.
There we go.
And I think that's just about all we need for it. If you want to keep scrolling down here.
In this case, I want all of the assertive. I want assertive to always be evil to the player. I don't want them to ever be friendly. So this stuff shouldn't matter.
Yeah, no. But if you had a neutral encounter, you could make them do different things depending on their current standing reputation. I've actually got an example of this in the air traffic mod right now. There's an encounter that appears, and
is that the
if you
Midas
approach
one?
it with too low reputation, it's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the air traffic mod has a lot of the examples of stuff that can be done with Rival AI already. So if you're looking to see what can be done, have a look at that, because it's got some really cool. Lucas has come up with some really cool concepts. And I'm actually interested in making Assertive have some vaguely neutral encounters that become hostile very quickly if you do anything, but would otherwise be neutral. But that'll be for later. For the moment, it's all going to be evil, so we don't need to worry about that. Any other ones that we need to do, Lucas?
Not at the moment. The conditions one, I don't know if we'll use that in this one, but that's got some neat additional parameters that you can set before the trigger can go off. Some examples would be maybe your ship's max or current speed must be between a certain range, or I think I even have really arbitrary stuff like certain mods have to be loaded and all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah. So if you've got a ship that has a specific mod needed, you could require that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or if there's a ship that's designed to do nasty things to people who use a particular mod.
Or that too. Looking at you, Bob users.
Yep. If you've got Bob active, it means every drone becomes an absolute bugger to fight. Do we need either of these? We shouldn't need the command receive because that's the thing we were talking about before.
No.
And
I think we got everything.
Cool.
All right, so let's back out of this page, and we're going to go to the action profile page.
All right. Actions. So I want to copy the entity component bit again.
Yeah.
So we copy that, and we put it in here.
Yep, and then we'll give the subtype ID the same name that we put up in the actions tag in the trigger above.
So the subtype ID should match this bit. Oh yeah, I'm just reading Super Happy's comments in chat. He's got some incredibly detailed encounters and a whole lot more depth to the stuff that's there, well beyond what I've created, which is kind of epic.
Yeah, he's got countermeasures to countermeasures to countermeasures. It's awesome.
Yeah, my NPCs have bobs to grind the players back. Right. So we've got our action, then Rival AI action, use chat broadcast. So what's that bit?
Yeah,
Is that the whether it uses the antenna or?
This is whether it'll use a chat in general.
Okay.
So in this case, we'll keep that tag as true.
Mm-hmm.
And the chat data, we're going to name that in this case ACS-AtmoEasy-Chat A.
Yep. Cool.
The 3 tags below, we can actually delete those. They were just part of the example. We don't need to keep them around.
Okay, we'll get rid of those.
And at the 3,000 kilometers, that's the only thing we're doing is the chat, right? No other actions.
Yep, that's correct.
All right, and we're done with this one.
Okay.
So we'll back out of that web page and we'll go to the chat section.
All right. And then we grab the entity component for chat.
Yep.
All right. So we need this to be ACS Atmo Easy Chat A for our subtype ID. Then, excuse me. Then let's go through these. So use chat true, starts ready, true.
Yep. So the starts ready it's pretty similar to the one in the trigger profile. So each chat has its own internal cooldown. So let's say if a trigger is constantly firing off every second and has a chat attached to it, you can have the chat maybe only go off every 30 seconds instead.
Yeah. Okay. So you can have the trigger keep resetting, but the chat won't. So,
right. And the spawn works in kind of the similar way too. So the chance tag
that's if you've got multiple chats.
No, it lets you specify just the chance out of 100 that it has of even appearing. So you could have a chat. In the case of this example, this would go off 50-50 of the time.
Right. Okay. So if you wanted something that would sometimes warn the player but not always, or sometimes the thing will send a message but sometimes it'll just go, no, not going to talk to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the case of a warning, we probably want it to be at 100.
Yep. Do I need to, if I didn't include chance, would it default to 100?
It would, yes.
Okay. But we'll leave that in there because I think it'll be useful to just leave. I tend to prefer leaving in these things even if we put the defaults in because it reminds me that they're an option there that I can change on future things when I copy and paste it.
Yeah.
Max chats 1. That's correct. Because I presume max chats is it could say both of these things.
Yeah. In this case, the trigger only goes off once, so we don't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, if you had the chat trigger going off infinite amount of times and you only wanted maybe up to 3 chat messages to go out, then you'd want to set that.
Okay. Broadcast randomly.
So down below we have two clusters of different chat messages. If broadcast randomly is turned off, then each time it runs a chat, it will start with the first one and then move to the second one. And then once it gets to the end, if there's still remaining chats to be triggered, it'll just go back to the top and repeat through them. Mm-hmm. If broadcast randomly is on, it'll just pick one at random and use that.
Okay, makes sense. So you can have a sequential, hi, how you going? What are you doing so close to me? Get away. All right, that's it, I'm calling in help. So those ones you'd want in sequence. Or in the case of those ones you can see below, both of them are sort of greetings, so you can have either, and it just creates a bit more interest by having different text messages coming out depending on just random.
Yeah.
Yeah. Author, drone fighter.
So the author, that's the name that comes up with the chat message. So in this case,
cargo ship.
You can call it cargo ship, or actually, you know, 1 second here. I think I have a tag for this.
Or should I call it thumbs?
Yeah, you could. But I think I have one that actually uses the name of the antenna as well, so I'm just going to double check that here.
Big JMC, the documentation for all this is on Lucas's GitHub page. The best way to get at all of this stuff is actually to go through his Discord server, which I am just creating an invite for, which I will post in chat. There we go. So that's Lucas's Modular Encounters Discord. In there's an FAQ and resources tab, which has all the links to the various bits and pieces like the admin and modders guide and the FAQ, the video that we did together, and future stuff, hopefully, that we'll be doing more tutorials and stuff together.
Alright, so I found the tag I was looking for. If you go back to almost the top of the page in the tag guide there.
Oh, Super Happy's just reminding me that I could put in audio files to play at the player.
Yep, that's a thing too.
I have to make a drone that says ow now, don't I?
You just might.
A drone that when Capac attacks it goes ow in his own voice back at him. And grrr. Oh, I'm going to have to do that. Yep. Anyway, sorry. Focus. Splitsy, focus. So, author.
Yeah. So let's scroll back up that page a little bit. There we are. So the antenna name and grid name, those are the two that we can use.
Grid name?
In this case, grid name would probably be the same as whatever the prefab name is. So you might not want to use that just because I think that'll include the little E at the front of it.
Yeah.
But if the antenna name is just the plain name of the ship.
Yeah, I'll have to remember to set antenna names so that I can use them. Because I think the antenna name's probably best.
And the color, that's just the name that the author comes up in. I think there's not too many choices for it. I think we get red, green, white, and maybe blue.
Okay. Is that written somewhere?
It should be further down.
Yeah, red, green, blue, and white. Yep.
So the way and this is actually kind of the first example that we're going to see with multi-tag. Back in MES, if you wanted to provide multiple values for one tag, you'd have to separate them with commas and all sorts of nasty business. I decided to do away with that in Rival AI, so you can actually reuse the same tag over and over.
Yep.
And it'll just add the values to the behavior internally.
Yeah, so that it picks up these two chat messages as being the same. Instead of these having to be comma separated and then the chat audio having to be comma separated and then to try and have the multiples, which can get a bit cumbersome in terms of lots of options. You've allowed it to work across handling this and this together as options rather than replacing one another. I imagine it would have been the old one. Or it would have just not liked it because there were two of the same thing?
Yeah, I think in MES, if you had two of the same tags, it'll use whatever the last one it read was.
Yeah. But now it can keep this in, remember that both of them are there and use them both. Just very much nicer to organize and much easier to set up, I think. So I'm really glad you did that.
I'm hoping someday I can actually do that in MES as well, but oh man, to make it backwards compatible with what's already in the wild right now, it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So we'll look at each of these chat message blocks. So the first tag, that's just the message that gets played to the player. If you put that player name in there in the curly braces, that actually uses the name of the player receiving the message. So if you were to run that right now, it would come up with your name.
Yep.
The chat audio, that you would specify in audio definition subtype ID. You can find them in the game files, or you can create your own as well, but that's a bit of a different topic.
Cool. And then we can set up our second one as an alternative. Yep. I can see it now. The most hardcore drones coming in, playing smooth jazz to lull you into a false sense of everything is okay. Right. I apologize for not paying super loads of attention to chat. I am focusing on Lucas because I'm learning this. I'm genuinely learning a lot of this right now. And if I try and read too many things, I lose track of what I'm doing. Cool. So we've got these chat audio sounds are from the Space Engineers sounds, which you can find that's in the game folder, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is Steam Apps, Common, Space Engineers, and then it's Content, Audio, and then you've got, is it not?
Oh, actually, I think you have to go back one, go to Data, and then the audio.sbc.
Right, it's the one that's, defined there, sorry. So used to going to the actual files. So audio.sbc has all the different sounds defined. There are a lot. But you can pick which sound effect you do that way, or you can create your own and include them in your mod, which I may well do later on so that Capac can talk to all of you, and maybe even me.
A Capactron using Rival AI would be a fun time, I think.
I think I'm gonna have to get together with you, Lucas, and we'll have to make a Capactron and Splitsitron mod that's just the two of them, just a bit stupid, especially since someone made a large grid version of the Capactron.
Oh, nice.
They submitted it as a possible assertive cargo ship. All right. Cool. So we've got our two chat options. It'll pick one of these randomly because we've got the broadcast randomly set to true. It'll play the greeting sounds, which are kind of like, they're just a chat notification type sound, aren't they?
Actually, those ones I think were placeholders. I don't think
so they're
those
not
are real subtype IDs. Yeah. Actually, if I could get you to scroll down on the page just a little bit there, or on the, let's see. Yeah, if we're not using any values, we should put none in there for now.
Put none. Yep. Let's use none. Capital, yes. It says capital. Yeah. Capital is there.
Or if you want, in a lot of the examples that I've already put together, I use one of the, I think it's one of the good bot sound effects. I can get you the subtype ID for that if you want to use it.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to have an audio warning.
Alrighty, one moment.
So, for those of you that have been following along with the Assertive Cargo Ships streams where I've been building that mod with community submissions and stuff, I'm planning on doing this sort of thing for every single one of the ships, the bases, everything in those mods is going to be totally Rival AI based. Initially, what I'm going to do is just replace the basic behavior with a fairly basic set of behaviors that Lucas and I are making now. But down the line, I want to make it more complicated. But I just want to replace it all to start off with, because then we can go in and we can do some fun story-based stuff. We can use that offset trigger thing so that even in a flying cargo ship, you could have special triggers that happen if the player gets to a specific place on that ship. Things that I think will be hopefully varied enough in number that even though you guys may have watched me make it, experiencing it in game will be a totally different thing. My idea would be to add enough variability to all this that when you play with these mods, you don't really remember what you're going to face. Enough randomization that it'll be an interesting encounter regardless. which is, I think, in a lot of ways, what Super Happy's kind of achieved with his mod, because there's so many encounters in that you just don't know what you're actually getting in for.
So the last tag that we have on each of those chat blobs, broadcast chat type.
Yeah.
So there's actually two different ways this can display a message. The default one we have there is chat, so it comes up like a chat message that anyone could type in.
Yep.
The other option is notify, and that comes up as a HUD message that kind of appears in the middle, lower middle of the screen, so similar to what the Reavers use.
Yeah, it turns up about here.
And then the both option would put it in both areas.
Yep. So cool.
So I think that's everything for
Bulldog.
this. So why don't we?
Yeah, that's the initial behavior. So then we need
so why don't we?
Yeah, test that.
Test that out first.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're gonna go back to our spawn group.
Oops. Yep.
And in the prefab section, the behavior tags, we're gonna put in the subtype ID of the behavior profile. So that first definition that we put into the behavior file.
So this one. Do I need to copy the ID that part, or do I just need to copy just this?
We just need the
mid-bit
value there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I just pop that in there.
Yep.
And that's it.
That should do it.
Now it's linked. Now this Bulldog spawn group is linked to that particular behavior profile. Now.
Yeah.
What we need to do, and you sent me something. Oh, here we go. Here's the. Let's put the audio notification in too, just because it's a bit interesting. Replace none with that, which is arcade HUD GPS notification 2. Alright, then I have to exit out of here. And now I'm going to create a copy of this save because I've actually put a lot of stuff into this save already that I needed, including modular encounters and Rival AI. So I don't have to set up my whole mod list because my mod list is long. Although I'm going to have to do it anyway because I'm going to have to add the local mod, aren't I? I think people are going to have some fun coming up with chat messages for me when I'm doing these streams and putting this together. And I saw that you submitted a couple of things to my assertive dead people thing.
Yeah, a couple.
Yeah, which I'm looking forward to. So what I was thinking of doing with that was, because all my cargo ships are made human-sized and with like interiors and stuff like that, I was actually going to put dead people in all of my cargo ships. So hopefully some of them would survive when they crashed, and then people could read those things out of their corpses. I was thinking about that this morning. Because I felt like that would be a great way to add the story. And because we've got so many different corpses now, be a nice thing to add to each of the ships. So I'm going to start implementing those soon.
You know, though, if every
good thought,
if every ship has a...
Sorry, Lucas?
Yeah, if every ship had a corpse on it, you gotta wonder if that's gonna raise some questions about this Assertive corporation.
Well, I mean, I figure most of the time the players are gonna get inside to see the corpse. The thing's gonna be being shot down, so that's how the person died.
Okay.
That was the justification in my head. Or they're the kind of people who, you know, pop a cyanide pill in there and kill themselves before, rather than getting captured. Rival AI tutorial. So because I've got this in offline mode, I can actually add a local mod, and then we should be good to go. Grazov was suggesting that some of the things should speak in other languages.
Yeah, that'd be a neat twist.
Yeah. Thanks, Guardian Forever. Super Happy, it depends on the context, I think.
Fuel
Oh.
critical.
Critical error. What did I do?
Not sure.
No energy.
So let's actually go to the log file. That'll tell us exactly what.
Copy log to
which of the
system
files.
clipboard.
No, we actually want to navigate right to the log file in. Yeah, that's not going to tell us a lot of anything really. So in the app data roaming space engineers folder, we'll open the log from there and take a look. Space engineers.log. Yeah.
Okay. Where did I break it?
So I'll get you to do a Control F and then search for critical. Okay, one moment. Maybe find next. Again. I'm not sure. Do you mind sending me the whole log file? I'll see if I can.
Sure.
See if I can sniff out what it's complaining about here.
There we go. That should come through to you. I might just have a bit of a look at the files and see whether I've futzed something up. Because usually when I've messed stuff like this up, I've done just a typo in one of the tags. That doesn't look like I messed any of that up.
Can you show me the mod folder for a moment?
Yes. That's inside it.
I think I see what we did. We forgot the data folder.
Ah, of course. We need to have all this inside a data folder, don't we?
Yeah.
Thought there was something we were missing at the beginning there. So everything, all of this definition stuff should be inside a data folder inside the mod folder. So now, hopefully it'll work.
Also, instead of having to exit the world and go back into it, you can hit F5 to just do a quick load for mods like this.
Of course.
Fine to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
Eisen, see how much easier that was with proper tech support? Yes.
Fuel critical.
There we go. It's
Alrighty.
working.
No energy.
Alright, so /mes.spawn planetary cargo ship. Maybe I did that a bit too soon. After load.
No, I think it was okay.
Get eligible spawns.
Yep.
Let's try that. And no. I'll open them in a second. Ah.
Okay.
Nothing.
So let's go back into the spawn groups there.
And we got atmospheric cargo ship, true. There's no threat score set up for this mod, so this one will spawn just all the time at the moment. Haven't added threat in yet.
It shouldn't matter, but let's get rid of the space, lunar, random encounter, and planetary installation tags.
Yeah, no work today, Bilbo, thankfully. I get to do this instead, which is so much more fun. Probably more mentally exhausting for me, though.
Critical.
No
energy.
I genuinely find a lot of this sort of stuff that Lucas is teaching me quite difficult. It's one of those things that I've always had a tough time getting my head wrapped around. One of my friends who is very, very good at programming, works for Google and whatnot, he has tried teaching me basically this stuff since high school, and he still hasn't managed to get it to stick much more than me manipulating XMLs. Let's try it again. Still nothing.
Oh. Wonder why that's complaining.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I know what it is. Do you have the Assert faction in this world?
No, I need the factions file, don't I?
Yeah. That or we can just change it to SPRT for the moment, but yeah, whichever you prefer.
Let's just change it to SPRT and just make sure that that's the problem. That's a good point. I needed to create the factions file. I forgot about that step because I only had to do it once.
That one gets me more than you'd think.
And super happy you just asked exactly the same. Is that why you picked it up? I just saw that in chat. Was there a faction SPC? No, there was not. My bad.
Fuel critical.
Pretty much, Kruzop. If I can handle
energy.
it, anyone should be able to. Let's see. Aha! It worked. It's there. Let's just get a little bit away. And then I'll teleport myself there. There we go, we're outside the 3 kilometer range. Let's see what happens. There we go. Warning, do not approach. I'm going to have to remember to name my antennas. Cool. It worked.
I couldn't tell mine, but the sound fire off as well.
Yes, it did.
Excellent.
Cool, cool, cool. So, now what we need to do is use this as a template to create the rest of the behaviors that we wanted.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's go back to our behavior file here. So you can pretty much copy everything from the entity component where trigger A lives all the way down to chat A, and then repaste that again.
Yeah.
And a lot of it we're going to just adjust a couple values here and there and add a couple other things afterwards.
So we're going to start. I'm just going to start by naming this to trigger B, action B, and we won't have chat. This will be. I will deal with that one shortly, because the action B is actually going to be actually we'll leave chat. We'll have a chat in as well, and then we'll use an additional trigger, an additional action, I should say. So trigger B will be.
You'll wanna.
Yep.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, in your actions tag there, you're gonna want to change that one to actions B as well.
Oh yeah, of course. And that as well. Can you make the chat author message use an antenna's HUD text value? And it was also asked earlier, can you use a beacon?
I don't believe I have anything for beacon. As far as the HUD text, I might add something for that later down the road, but for now it's just the actual block name.
Yep. I may well start naming the... Oh no, the prefabs all do need to have different names, so I probably won't use the prefab names. I will just use an antenna name, assuming there's an antenna. Otherwise I'll use the faction name or thumbs or something like that. Or I'll come up with a sort of a generic yeah, so the author will be Assertive or cargo ship pilot or something like that I'll put as the thing. So that there's something generic that works outside of ones that have an antenna that makes sense. So this one I want to trigger at 2 kilometers. And the max actions. Now for drone spawning as a proximity trigger, I would want this to happen more than once. If you move away, destroy the drone and come back, I'd kind of want it to do it again, but I'd want a fairly long cooldown on that.
Okay. So how many times are you thinking? Maybe 3, 5?
I think 3 is probably reasonable.
All right.
And then we need to get to the trigger ones. Then we go to... Is it in... Oh, here we go. Min cooldown and max cooldown. So I would add this after max actions in this case.
Yeah.
So we have min, and we need to have a minimum and a max, or can you get away with just one? If you don't want to range.
Usually you should use both,
okay.
just in case.
Yep.
Because if the min happens to be higher than the max, then the whole thing yells and screams and maybe crashes.
Mm-hmm. So what I'd like is maybe how many minutes do I think it needs to be? Probably like 4 to 5 minutes. So that'd be, is that 240,000 as 4 minutes?
Well, for the size of the drone, you might even want to go smaller, because a savvy pilot might be able to mow that down with a rifle pretty quickly.
Yeah, true. But if they spawn really quickly, you'll just kind of end up with drone spam.
Yeah, true.
So maybe two minutes. Make it 120. That's 2 minutes, correct? Because 1,000 milliseconds per second.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. And so we can make it between 2 minutes and say 3 minutes. Is that how that works?
Yep.
Yep.
Do you mind if I just step away for a moment?
No, go for it.
Thanks.
So that's going to be. Let's see how much I can get done. Of this before Lucas gets back. So we've got our maximum actions at 3, minimum cooldown 2 minutes, max cooldown 3 minutes. Then the actions. This is where it gets interesting. I want actions. Use chat broadcast, change. So what I want this to do is to change the autopilot speed. So currently it's set to 25 meters per second, but once you get close enough that this thing goes, you're a real threat, I want it to increase its speed, so we'll double its speed to 50 meters a second, making it just that little bit harder to catch, and maybe while you're taking on the drones, it'll get far enough towards its despawn point that you'll miss out on taking it, which I think could be kind of a fun challenge. Oh, specifies the new pilot. Oh wait, that's true false. My bad. I misread this. So true. And then I want to set new autopilot speed. Below that. And set that to 50. And what else do I need? Spawn encounter. I'm not sure if I'm going to be. Yeah, so this will. I think I need to do both of these, and then it'll be spawner. Any spawn profiles. I imagine that's the spawn group. So spawn encounter value. So we're going to have it increase its speed, and we're going to have it spawn an enemy and chat. So it's going to do all three.
All right, I'm back.
Cool. I think I've made progress. You can tell me where I might have messed it up. But what I've done is new autopilot speed. Whoops. I've made this really ugly. I put them in. I wasn't looking where I was pasting stuff. Let's put the chat together. So we got use chat broadcast, keeping that, and then change autopilot speed to 50. And then spawn encounter true, and then I was going to, in the spawner value, put the mosquito.
Okay. Yep, that looks
that
good.
right?
Now the
or should I do this differently?
Well, the spawner actually links to a separate spawn profile, similar to like how the chat profile works. So that'll be what we'll set up next.
Okay. So I'll call this ACS Atmo Easy Deterrent. Drone Deterrent.
May even just want to call it spawner B, just to keep in the kind of the same format we're going with everything else.
Yep, makes sense. It's up to no, I think that's good. I think it's good. Especially if we're going to be potentially posting this as an example mod, I think it'll be helpful for people to have it as just A, B, and C rather than having some weird thing that makes sense to me but won't make sense to anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah, that was sort of the problem I ran into with the air traffic example. By the way, anyone listening, do not use that as an example for how you should build these. It's pretty awful. Sort of in the, I wonder how I should do this phase of things.
Right, so this part was done correctly though, the autopilot speed?
Yeah, looks good to me.
Cool. So the retreat would be something we'd use in the drone's behavior, wouldn't it? if it runs out.
Yeah, for drones that do have active behavior, that would work for them. For the cargo ship, that wouldn't have any effect really.
Okay. Cool. So these chat would be calling drone support or something like this. I might, just to do this bit differently for the sake of it being different, get rid of the second option. And this one can potentially max chats 3, because we'll have it say it each time that the drone gets spawned. Each time it's triggered. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep, that should work.
Yep. Okay, so so now what we need to do is set up this spawner behavior, correct?
Yeah, so we'll go back on the guide page, and there's a section for spawn.
Spawn. Cool. So we'll grab the entity component bit for that. And we'll paste that in there. And then we'll grab our spawner name from here and put it into the subtype ID. And now, got Rival AI spawn, use spawn true, starts ready true.
So for the cooldown, since we're sort of controlling that from the trigger anyway, we can actually remove those tags.
Yep. And it's also got a max spawn of 3, so we've got both defined.
Yeah. So from here, now this is kind of a neat thing. You can actually define multiple spawn groups that can appear off of the spawn profile.
Yes. So I can... is that so I can use different drones if I want to mix up which drones attack, or...
Yep, you could have the mosquito, or you could have and that could be on like a frequency of say 5, and then you could have maybe.
How would I set the frequency of that, like the ratios?
It's done right in the spawn group. It just uses whatever's picked up by MES.
Oh, right, because it's an MES spawn group. Whatever I've set as my frequency here will define it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So the stuff below, that's there's 2 ways these can spawn. With relative spawn position false, this more or less acts like the antenna spawning as it is now. So it'll pick a random distance and altitude from the thing that spawns it, and that's where it will appear.
Yeah.
If you had set that to true, that can be used. Well, actually, in this case, we probably want it false, just
to test. But I'd like to see what we could do with it after that. We'll test it with false, and then we'll set it to true and see what happens. See what we can do.
Okay.
Because I'd like it to spawn, say, 2 kilometers away.
Yeah, in this case, we'd want to use the false for that. For if you had a good example would be the hive ship from corruption.
Oh, right. The relative spawn position is for like shooting out of a hangar, sort of making it look like it's doing that. Gotcha.
Right.
It's very really, really accurate definitions of where it's going to be, so that you don't end up having it clip with anything, but you can have it spawn from a spot that looks like it's launching out of a hangar. Or yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So yeah, I understand now. This one's more generic, and we can set it to be further away. So I would set my minimum distance to say 2,000 and max distance 2,500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can set the minimum altitude as well. So you might want to set that a little higher as well. Maybe about the same as the min max distance, just because.
Okay.
I think in one of my examples, I think in the air traffic example, I have it set a little lower, and it looks like it's coming off the ground somewhere. seems a little jarring.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I think that's all we need for the spawner. If we want to go through the tags on the guide, we'll just double check that here.
Yep. So we got use spawn true, starts ready true, minimum cooldowns we've defined elsewhere, maximum spawns we've defined elsewhere, but we've still left in the limit. Spawn groups, which is the mosquito, which I believe is what I named it. Yep, just plain old mosquito. Use relative spawn position, no, because we're spawning just like a general ship further away. And I think it's awesome that you've added this way of defining it, because the way I had to do a similar thing when I was trying to do it with the antenna spawner was I had to use relative position and hope, and like, so I could only really use that in certain situations. I did it with the assertive installations. The drone actually spawns quite high in the sky, just to ensure that if it is flipped around the wrong way for some reason, it has time to level off to gravity.
Oh, that reminds me. That shouldn't be a thing with this as well. Since it uses the same thing it uses to spawn cargo ships, they should be spawned in the proper orientation, as long as the remote control is in the proper orientation, or cockpit, or whichever we happen to use.
Yep. Inherit NPC Altitude.
I forgot about that one. Let me see. Okay, so that would be if you wanted it to have, like, for minimum and maximum altitude, if you set minimum to 0 and maybe max to 100, then it would take whatever the current NPC's altitude is, that value, and then just add that randomized min-max value to it.
Okay.
So that could work here, but it's entirely optional.
Yep. Relative spawn offset, that's the one for hangar spawn type things. Relative spawn velocity. That's pretty cool.
That's also for the... Yeah, that's the bit that actually makes them shoot up the hangar.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to have to build something just so I can have that function in. And ignore safety checks. Is that often useful for this hangar type thing so that it just takes the chance?
Yeah, because with that, with it turned off, it might see itself within the bounding box of another entity and be like, "Oh, can't do that."
Cool. Yeah, sweet. So that should be our Bulldog Behavior SBC complete for this part.
Seems to be.
So we now need to define anything in Mosquito, or will it still function because it says Behavior Fighter?
It should, but oh, actually, well, we need to give it a subtype ID as well.
Yeah. What did I call? Ammo Easy. Yeah, let's go Ammo Easy Drone. There we go. Do I need to do any more than that?
Not yet. We'll see how it performs. If we need to tune anything like its movement speeds or strafing and all that, then we can come back here. We do want to go back to the spawn group, though, and take that subtype ID we just added to the behavior and put that into the prefab, though.
Yes. So the Mosquito gets that there. So it's defined. Cool. So I should just be able to do a quick load.
Yep.
Oops, what am I doing? Should I remove the drone, the cargo ship that's there, or?
Shouldn't matter. Actually, yeah, let's remove it just in case.
Actually, I'm going to remove both of those so that neither of them there. Right. This is cool. This is actually coming together a bit faster than I was expecting.
Fuel
Alrighty.
critical.
Once everything's loaded in, I'll try and spawn another ship.
No
We'll see what
energy.
happens. /MES.spawn planetary cargo ship. Enter. Should probably get rid of that mosquito too. Let's see if anything's... Oh no, it's still there. It's just didn't spawn. Oh no, it has. Just took time. So there we go. We got our Bulldog over there. And I'm now within its text warning chat, which worked. Let's get within 2 kilometers and see what happens. Nothing.
Oh, I remember what we did. Or didn't do, I guess.
Okay.
Alright, so let's go back to the behavior for Bulldog.
Bulldog behavior? Yep.
We need to add a second triggers tag for the trigger B. Right at the top.
Oh, okay, yep. Yep. So we need to go there and go trigger B.
There we go.
Now it should work. This is the sort of stuff that you can tell me so much quicker than it would ever take me to figure out why I did. Like, why did I break it? What have I done?
Fuel critical.
I've only gotten quick because of trial and error. The stuff that drove me nuts at first. And I was the one who built it.
It's so easy with this stuff to just miss one tag that you're like, oh, I know why I've got that there and it makes sense and I need to have that there, but why did I forget that I had to do it? There we go. 4.5 Ks away. Let's go. You do not have clearance. So that's the other chat message, which is nice. And nada. Drone. What else has not been done? Trigger B. Trigger B. Why you no work? Any thoughts?
I'm thinking. Do you mind sending me the file just so I can look on my end?
Yeah, of course. Where are we at? It's a lot easier for you to scan it yourself rather than staring at my screen and only seeing half the file.
Yeah.
Yeah, Eisen, it's pretty much that. Lucas, I broke it. Help. Okay. Trigger A works. Trigger B. Right, type plan here. Trigger 2, target distance 2 kilometers. Max action 3. Oh, hang on. This doesn't have the ready at spawn. Tagging it.
Oh, the starts ready one.
Yeah.
Good catch.
For that's the trigger. Thank you. Starts ready. There we go.
So I guess in this case it was working. It would just take,
Yeah.
well, 2 to 3 minutes for it to actually kick in.
Let's get rid of it. As it... No, that's the other one. Right. Nope. Keep hitting the wrong keys. There we go. Yeah, Dragnon, I'm finally getting better at seeing what I've... Well, I think it's because this is actually the second time Lucas has explained how this stuff works to me. So I think I'm starting to get a handle on the logic of how the systems work, which makes it a lot easier to understand where things might be going wrong. At least
I did him a horrible injustice by showing him the air traffic files, though.
No, because I think it still helped because it was just helping to get my head around the general concepts that you had in mind. The specific formatting, I don't think you did me any disservice with showing that because I didn't remember half of it anyway. But I remembered more of the general concepts. Alright, there we go. We got a spawn.
Yeah, it's a little different than MES where everything goes into a single spawn group. This is all split up across multiple little sub-profiles, but the nice thing about those, though, is you can recycle them all over the place.
Yeah, which I really like, because I'm going to be... There we go! Calling in drone spot. Where's the drone? Have we got a drone? We don't have a drone. Okay. It's a step in the right direction.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no entity for the drone, so there is no drone.
Oh, I might know what we need to do. Let's go back to the spawn group for it.
Uh-huh. This is the spawn group for the mosquito?
Okay, actually we did call it a rival AI spawn. That's...
Yeah.
Oh, it's named Assert as well.
Ah, that's why. Okay. Deluxe. I think that's for completing one of the second one across is for completing like those tags. I think it's for completing one of the mission things. I don't remember what all the tags were.
Energy.
I think I've got all of them though. Right, let's see what happens this time. Blam. And blam! Spawned! Yeah! 4Ks away and fairly high up in the sky. Nice. Now, what's it going to do to me? Oh wait, I think I'm untargetable.
Oh, that shouldn't matter.
Yeah, oh actually it really shouldn't because that's only going to affect turrets, isn't it?
Yeah. Is it moving?
Hang on. I am still... Yes, it is. It is coming in. Oh, it did his little strafe. Did it just do a little roll before it came back around to face me? It looked like it did.
Some of the stuff
That's
some
so
of the stuff I've
cool.
got going on.
That's a little
Keep it level
flourish.
with the ground wall. Yeah.
And that is keeping a
was actually
distance
kind of
that's going to be
unintended.
hard to fight with a drone this small. Well, it looks like it handles your autopilot settings.
Yeah, it's doing pretty good. Maybe try flying down to the ground, see if it
Does close
is
up.
okay there.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so excited for having drones that don't need turrets. Because getting rid of the turrets means you can make them so much smaller and more interestingly designed. Because I was waiting for Rival AI to implement that. Okay, it didn't handle that so well.
Alrighty. Yeah, we might want to put some limitations on what it can do there, but
Oh,
yeah, up in the air, it's doing pretty good.
Did the Bulldog speed up? That's a good question.
Looks like it's going pretty quick.
It does. That's relative damp. Yep, it's gone to 50 meters a second. It's booking it out of there. I will be back in just a moment. I just need to take a quick bio break. One sec.
Fuel critical. No energy.
And I'm back. And getting shot at. So Lucas, what do you reckon I need to modify with the mosquito to make it work? Where have we got it?
Alrighty. For the mosquito, we'll probably be looking at the autopilot section.
Which is where?
It's in the core system tags, but it'll be closer to the top.
Huh. Okay.
So there's a lot of stuff in this section. I gotta carve it up a little better, but we should have what we need in here.
Mm-hmm.
So let's scroll down a little.
Oh.
Alright, so let's actually start with the ideal and minimum planet altitudes.
Yep.
We can, because those values are kind of low. I think I have them around 150 to 200. So maybe we'll set those to minimum 400, ideal 500.
Okay. So how long would it be so basically if it does a strafing run and it gets below that, it'll try and pull itself back up to that level, is that?
Right, or if it's even just generally approaching the player, if it gets lower than the minimum, it'll kick itself back up to 500 again.
Okay. So it'll be a little less aggressive, it'll have a bit more trouble hitting a ground target, but that's okay because ground targets have a little trouble doing much anyway.
Yeah.
Alright. Any other things you think would be helpful for the little drone?
If we scroll down further, we should see some options for strafing.
You've done an incredible job with this stuff. Like, that drone just looked so much more interesting than any of the other behaviors I've seen. Even in that fairly basic thing. There we go, allow strafing.
There we are. Alright, so the strafe min duration and max duration. Let me find out what the defaults are there. I don't remember what I put those as.
I love the little strafing runs, they look cool. Hey, Shaq. I didn't... It came in while I was gone. Ah.
You'd think I could remember where this was, but I can't find it.
Is it in one of the things that you have sent me?
Oh no, this would be in my own code. I haven't put anything as far as defaults go in any of the guides yet because a lot of this stuff is still
work in progress.
Yeah, just trying to figure out what the ideal default values will be so far, see what works, what doesn't, and kind of go from there. There we go. Okay. So, well, that's not too long. So right now the minimum duration is 750 milliseconds, and the max is 1,500.
That seems reasonable.
Too bad. Yeah.
Only up to
but you know what? Maybe. Yeah. So maybe what we'll do is there's another tag if we scroll down a little further. Strafe speed cutoff. Maybe we'll put that to something like somewhere between 50 and 75, maybe. That way, if it's strafing and it hits that speed limit, it'll cut it off.
Okay. So it'll give them a better chance rather than strafing and getting up to 100 meters a second, not being able to pull up. It won't get quite that fast. Let's try 75 at the beginning and see what happens. So that should be all we need to do to give it another go.
Alrighty.
Yeah? I think. Oh. This actually shouldn't be
critical.
Especially time consuming. Oh, multiple drones already.
Energy.
These drones will be using the latest file even though they were in there, or should I just delete everything and start over?
You should delete everything. The behavior profile that actually saves to the drone's custom data of the remote control.
Yeah.
So it'll remember a lot of its old settings. Certain other things will update, like if you had triggers and all that, those will use the newer values, but base autopilot stuff has to be respawned.
One of those situations where the smartest thing to do is just to start fresh. Don't risk adding extra variables in that might break stuff. Okay, let's see how this mosquito goes against me. The despawn of the cargo ship has to meet a couple of conditions, doesn't it? Like it has to be far enough away from the player and at its despawn location, or distance from start. Is it defined by distance from start or a specific location?
Specific location.
Okay. Incoming. Let's see if it can even shoot me. Oh yeah. It's just doing tiny little attacks and then dives away. So with those sorts of settings, it seems like it's pretty weak against ground targets, but at least it doesn't smash its face into the ground.
Yeah, and you can always tune it as well to find what sort of balance works. I mean, it may vary per grid as well. You might have
that's what I was
something
thinking.
like that. But
I'll need to toy around with each of my new drones and each of my old drones to see how best to make them dangerous without crashing too often.
yeah.
Awesome. So the last thing I wanted to do with this test mod was add a third trigger, and that trigger was going to be set by damage to the parent grid, so damage to the cargo ship. So let's get onto that, because once we've got that, I think that's probably enough for a starter thing to give people a bit of insight into how the multiple layers of behaviors and things work.
Yeah.
So let's bring this back up. Let's go back to the Bulldog Behaviors, and I'm going to copy everything from trigger B down to the end. Paste that in. And then I go up the top. Not going to forget to do this bit this time. I'll just call this C for now, even though later on I'm going to rename them. But we'll call it C because it's the third trigger. So we've got... Yeah, this is the trigger C. So trigger C is going to use the damage trigger. So we need to go to behavior specific tags. No,
Actually, that'll be under core system.
That's his core system. Damage, there we go.
Actually, that section, we're not going to use that one. I should actually remove that soon. One of the things I had, the reason that sort of exists there was one of the old requirements of being able to use a damage trigger was that you had to turn on the damage system so it's actively monitoring the grid for damage. I found that tripped me up almost every single time. I spent more time than I'd like to admit trying to figure out why the thing wasn't triggering, only to find, oh, I need this one extra tag.
Yeah.
So now I have it set up in a way where if you've provided a damage trigger, that thing will turn on automatically in the background, so it doesn't even need to be specified anymore.
Cool. All right, so we go instead to our trigger.
Yep.
So then what we want is the type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this type from player near to damage.
Yep. And then we want a, there's another tag, I think it's further down the page, but that's where we specify what kind of damage it watches for.
Okay. Damage types.
So if you want it to grab any type of damage, we'll just use that first value there.
Yeah.
I will note though, if you do use the any tag, it's very important that you make sure the grid has no areas where thruster damage can occur, because that will trigger it.
I'm pretty confident that I have not got any thruster damage. So we'll go any for now.
Alrighty, I think the rest of it's all good. Just the actions tag at the bottom there, we'll change that to a C.
Actions. Yep. Yep, because I'm happy for it to trigger this multiple times. Now, I wanted this to spawn multiple drones when you do damage.
Oh,
Can we do
Okay.
I'm
Yep.
just
What we'll maybe do is we'll set that up in the spawn group. So for now, we'll finish up what we're doing in the behavior here, and then we'll come back to that.
Oh, so we'll create a separate spawn group that has multiple spawns.
not
Yeah.
ever.
So then we go chat C, spawner C, new autopilot speed 70. I see many capacs going splat. I love the evil chuckle just then. Perfect. Use chat. Yep. Okay. Then this is spawner C. I think cap splats is the better way, not splat packs. I think it's cap splats. Because splat packs sounds like a mixture of splitsy and capac, whereas cap splats makes it clear that it's capacs going splat. So we go spawn, and spawn groups mosquito.
Maybe we'll just call it Mosquito 3 or
Well,
however many you want to spawn with the group.
We'll go with mosquito 3. But if I wanted to, I could create two. I could do this, couldn't I? Copy that and go have a mosquito 2 and a mosquito 3, couldn't I? And it would pick randomly from those.
Oh yeah.
Sweet. So we'll do a 2 and a 3 because then it could have 2 or 3 that spawn. Except for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to do that. Yeah, we're going to keep all that. Cool. So that's good. And then we go back to our spawn groups and we create that new spawn group.
Yep.
Those new spawn groups, I should say. So we'll copy that. Paste it twice. Because we're going to have Mosquito 2, which is using this prefab. And we'll have Mosquito 3, which is also using that prefab. Now, how do I make it spawn multiple?
Alrighty. So underneath the prefabs
I can tell you
tag,
the power bill is
where you have the line prefab subtype mosquito,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to grab from there and go right down to the closing prefab tag.
Wow.
Oh. We're going to copy that and paste it, are we?
Yep.
And that'll just spawn it twice.
It will, but there's one other thing we need to do here.
We need to offset
now,
it
the
so they don't
position
spawn
for-
on top of each other.
Yeah. Yep. Because they will, and it's never pretty.
Yep. So this thing's pretty small, so I could even just move it 10 meters away. But I probably want to do it further than that so they don't crash into each other.
Yeah, I'd give them a good amount of space, actually. Maybe even 100 between each other. That way, there's no issue.
Yep, and these are spawning fairly high in the sky, so I don't really care which way X ends up being. It'll still be fine.
Yeah.
These positions, are they defined cardinally in game in this instance? Or are they defined based on something else?
They're relative to the position that the spawn matrix is set at. In the case of where these are kind of spawned randomly off in the distance, we don't need to worry about it too much. But let's say, for example, maybe in the context of cargo ships, if you had this same setup but with 2 cargo ships, they would spawn right beside each other, flying in the same direction, kind of in formation.
Yeah. Okay. So in that case, the second one is defined by the first.
Right.
So
Well,
this...
not even...
No? Oh, it's
not
just
even so much the first. It's just
they're relative to each other,
the
so they're
first
all
happens to
oriented
be
the
at
same
the
way.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, in my head, what I'm thinking is you have the first spawn, and then the XYZ isn't defined based on the 000 coordinate of the world. It's defined by the spawn orientation that's been chosen for this spawn group. So
Right.
X will always be... X is left, right, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's going to
Y
be
is forward, backwards, and Z is up, down?
other way around.
Y is up, down in this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm playing too much Minecraft. So I think it's got some of these weird, wacky inverse things.
I don't think anybody follows a consistent standard with that stuff.
Yeah, it's really annoying. Because I always, like in my head from maths in high school, I was always like, yeah, X is almost always the horizontal, Y is the vertical, and Z is depth. But anyway, cool. So that'll be safe. They both spawn, and then we need for this one to do it twice. So that. And for this one, what we're going to want to do is have, say, that one at 100 and this one at minus 100. So that way they'll spawn either direction of this central one further away.
Yeah.
Hey, Eisen, you're outnumbered. Both of the people talking, use Z. Not Z. Z.
What the heck is Z?
I know, right? Oh, that's a fair point, Mythos. That would make sense why some things use Z differently. Why? Because if you're thinking architecture, your primary coordinates are your X, Y, and that's going to be two different horizontals, and then your Z goes up and down. Makes sense. Makes sense. Cool. So this should, in theory, work now. Let's get rid of everything and do a reload. Don't know why I got rid of everything, because the reload should have had everything gone. Oh, this is cool. Although I do need to do something for making this all work.
No energy.
Uh-oh. Oh. My computer's unhappy about something. Yikes.
I promise there's no super secret spawns that appear.
I need to get myself a weapon so I can shoot this thing at range.
Hand tools should work too, so if you have a drill or grinder.
Oh yeah, true. Force of habit to give myself a weapon, I guess. Okie-dokie. Dragnon, you sort of could have the spawns based off distance travel, but it'd be more based off a timer that gets started at spawn. Is that right, Lucas?
Yeah, that'd be the easiest way to fake that, I think.
Yeah. Alrighty. So we've had both those triggers work. Incoming drone is flying toward me. And time. Just had two more spawn. And they are both flying towards me. And that thing is booking it. It's got its 70 meters a second, I reckon.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. Catch up. Certainly look, yeah. Oh, so many times. So many ways to catch Capac out now. It's going to be great. I did say if he was awake for while this stream was on that he could join us to see what he's got to face, but he hasn't taken up that offer. Oh, this is cool. Huh. That's an interesting thought. For some of the... With this speed increase, if you're already keeping up, it's going to make it quite hard for the drones to catch up to you as well. So it may not be in my best interest. So maybe I want to slow it down just a little bit, because 70 might be so fast that the drones aren't actually that much of a threat.
Now, one other thing is, I don't know if you want to get into that today, but there are ways you could have it so that the speed boost is only temporary. So maybe after, I don't know, a minute or two, it drops it back down to a reasonable amount.
Okay. Damn. How would I do that?
Alright, so we're gonna set up a new trigger.
New trigger. And then I'm gonna grab...
And for this one, we only need the action and the trigger. We don't need the chatter spawner.
Okay. So I'll copy that. This is trigger D and action D. And we'll start clearing this up as we go through. So what do I need to do?
All right, so we're going to change the type to timer.
Yep.
We're going to either set the starts ready to false or just remove the tag, whichever you prefer.
We'll get rid of that.
We'll also get rid of max actions as well in this case, just because, well, actually, no, we'll leave it at 3, I guess.
Okay.
Because this thing should only fire up, or no, because we have damage and
Yeah. So let's get rid of it.
proximity. Yeah.
So what I'm assuming is going to happen is we're going to add a timer action to the other triggers as well, which then starts this timer.
Sort of. Let me just take a quick look here. Oh, we're going to remove that damage types tag as well.
Remove that.
Okay. Okay, I think we got all the other stuff we don't need removed. Oh, down in action, we'll get that all sorted out.
Yep, down in action, yep.
So we'll get rid of the chat and the spawner.
Oh, yeah, sorry, we want to keep the change autopilot speed. So that can go back down to... I don't want it to slow down too much, but we'll slow it down to 40.
Alrighty.
Just to keep it different.
Yeah. Okay, I just need to find one action tag here. So we got to go back up to the actions in trigger C.
Yep.
Or not trigger C. Action C and action B. There's something we got to add to both of those. Actually,
action
2 things.
C. Yep. That's what we need to add here. So I think this is useful to put into this kind of as a tutorial, because it's got it's about nesting actions, which I think is something that I may well end up doing.
Yeah. Now I don't know if I documented these on the site yet, so I'm gonna send them to you over the Discord here, but they are in the current version.
Yep. Sierra Golf, the issue with an NPC building something is that if you weld from a projection, do you know, Lucas, if the behavior still gets applied to that remote control block?
It should Possibly. You know, I've never tried that. I'll have to look into it.
Yeah, because I'm not sure that that would happen. Or if the projector gets generated as a new block which doesn't have all those additional things attached to it. Because it gets attached to the block specifically. Alright, so we've got a couple of tags. So, what do these tags do? Reset cooldown time of triggers.
Yeah, so this will take any of the cooldowns in a trigger that we specify, and that names tag we can actually specify multiple of them if we wanted to. In this case, we don't need to, but this will reset it. So let's say, for example, if it was maybe using that spawner one up, or that other action one up there, where it's 2 to 3 minutes. If it was at a minute and then we reset it, it would have to wait again 2 to 3 minutes.
Okay. So why have we implemented this at action C?
I'll show you in just a moment. I'm trying to find one more tag here. Okay, so we want it in C and B because these are the ones that spawn things and the ones that also change the speed limit.
Yep.
So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create one more tag in each of these, and the name of the tag is set booleans true. I'll paste that over to you.
Just that?
Yep, that's our. Oh no, all one word.
Oh. That?
Because there's also one that sets them false too.
So is it set booleans true false? Is that what we're doing?
No. For the value, we're actually going to give it a name that we choose.
Okay.
So in this case, let's just say cargo ship speed up.
Cargo ship speed up.
So I'll explain what this is doing. This is actually creating a value in the behavior named cargo ship speed up. Or yeah, cargo ship speed up.
Which is a boolean value.
Yeah, so it's giving it a value of true. And then we can use that with a condition profile to trigger other things to happen. So we're going to go back down. So we'll copy that tag and we'll put it in action C, I believe it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we need to go down to D.
Yep. And what we're going to do is we're going to say create a new tag underneath actions called conditions. Nope, we're up in the trigger profile.
Trigger. Yep.
Yeah.
So what's it called again, sorry?
Conditions.
Yeah.
And then colon, and then we're going to just give it the same naming convention we've been using for everything else. So ACS-ATMO-EZ- condition D.
Yep.
Alrighty, so let's go back to the guide. We're going to go to the conditions section. So we'll go back up to the top there where the code blob is, and we'll, yeah. And you probably want to paste that right between the action and the trigger.
Okay. There we go. So this will be, let's just copy it from here. There we go.
Alrighty. So in this we can specify multiple conditions, and you can have it so that either any of the conditions match, it'll read it as satisfied, or all of them. So in that case, in this case we only have one, so it doesn't really matter what we set that to, but usually for the most part you'd probably want it as false.
You want this bit as false?
Yeah.
Because you want it just to match the specific condition you're looking at.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to scroll down in the guide a bit. And you can see some of the things you can check for here.
This is what you're talking about the
IDs
checking for mod IDs.
Yeah, and in this case right here, we actually just came to where we need, so check true booleans. We're going to use that tag and set it to true.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to use the true booleans tag. And we're going to give that the value that we specified in the action B and action C.
Which was, because I have the memory of a goldfish right now, cargo ship speed up. There we go.
All right, and
so that's checking if that is true.
Have you been a part of the volume?
And if it is, then it does this.
Right, and then what we'll do is we will. Oh, sorry. We'll put a new tag in action. Oh, actually, we forgot to name action D to. No, action D.
Did I?
Further down.
I did.
Yeah.
So how do we make this happen after a certain period of time?
It's mostly defined in the trigger, and I'll show you that in a moment.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're going to put one more tag here, and that's going to be set booleans false.
In the action?
In the action, yep. And then we'll point it to cargo ship speed up.
Cool.
All right, so let's go back up to trigger D.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to use the min and max cooldown as the amount of time we want to use.
Okay.
So if you want to do maybe 30 seconds to a minute, at high speeds, that would give them a pretty good chance to get away, I would think.
Yeah. I think that's reasonable. Cool. So, yeah, so now the cargo ship has a bunch of behaviors it can do, which when it spawns in, if you, as the player, come within 3 kilometers, it'll send you a chat message warning you to stay away. If you close into 2 kilometers, it will send you another chat message and spawn a drone to chase you away. If you do any damage, it will send you another chat message and it'll spawn 2 or 3 drones to come and attack you. And that damage trigger has a cooldown on it, so if you continue to do damage after, I should probably make this shorter so it makes them spawn a bit sooner. Oh, 2 minutes is probably reason. Let's make it 1 minute to 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, it can redo that, and it can do that 3 times for a max of 9 drones. If you stop damaging it, well, if it gets away for a while, it will then slow down again after 30 to 60 seconds, back down to 40 meters a second, which will also give a chance for the drones to catch up to it if you're still at the ship. And also a chance, if you haven't got your relative dampeners, to go face planting into the wall. Thanks, Mackerel. It's nice to see you around because you've been crazy busy with work of late. Cool, so that's what it should be able to do right now. Let's delete everything. Or let's... I should just be able to quick load, actually. So let's see how we do. I saw you earlier in the chat, Mackerel. But I
Fuel critical.
just haven't seen you on the Discord a lot lately.
No energy.
Yep. Let's check all the triggers. Drone spawning. Ship speed is currently 50 meters a second, which is correct. Whoops. Goodbye, cargo pods. Forgot about those sensors. So I'll just stand around on here, and if we wait 30 to 60 seconds, this should slow down, shouldn't it?
Yeah, it should. I think it did already.
Oh yeah, it's back at 40. Cool. Super Happy, is that your new... I presume that's the separate Rival AI one you've got. Because I think I saw that when I was going through Lucas's list of compatible mods at the moment. Drone is having an interesting time catching up. That is one of the downsides of making the parent ship move fast, is the drones can't quite fight as much as they would, because we are still pulling away from it. Rakulti, the way I've set this up, no, it won't. But you can make it trigger against other ones. Because I think I've set all the triggers in this to player. Except for damage, Interesting. So Lucas, if I understand this correctly, if a Reaver shot this main ship right now, it would spawn drones that would then attack the player, right?
Yeah, that is the case right now. I am going to be overhauling targeting systems down the road, and
oh yeah, I was just pointing out that that's a possibility that could happen with how I've set this up.
Yeah.
So that is a thing. Cool. Well, that's mod ready. Can you think of anything else that you'd like to highlight in the creation of the mods? Or Super Happy, do you have anything that you think, and I think there might have been a couple of other people who've looked at this stuff, if you guys have anything you think might be useful for us to show off with Lucas here to help? Yeah, Isaac, I'd love to see the assertive ones go full ham on a Reavers or corrupt confrontation too. That would be entertaining. Because I do love watching the Reavers smash the corruption ships and other ships when they come along.
Oh, actually, that is another thing. It's a little iffy right now because I'm in the middle of doing the rewrite for targeting, but one thing that is or should be possible is having it so that when a damage event is received,
Right.
having the behavior, if it's like a drone, for cargo ships, this wouldn't work too easy. Actually, I might. Anyway, you can have them switch targets to whoever attacked them last.
Yep, and it just shot itself, so that made a damage event, which means more drones are coming in. Because they missed and shot the ship themselves.
Also, another thing is you can, for Assertive it might not be so much the case, but if you had another mod with maybe two NPC factions that maybe by lore didn't really like each other that much, you could have damage events on them, so if you attack one faction, you get a heaping dose of bad reputation with that faction, but maybe just a little bit of good reputation with the one it doesn't like.
Energy.
Yep. So that you can have some way of regaining faction standings.
Yeah. Because right now in Vanilla, I don't think we have a any real way to do that. It's once you've trashed your rep with any of the factions, that's pretty much it. Except for pirates.
Yeah.
Apparently you can do just about anything in this game and make the pirates happy.
Yeah, which is bizarre. I am very much a big fan of your Perpetually Perturbed Pirates mod, except not a huge fan of having to pause for a moment before I say that so that I don't muck it up every time. Cool. Well, I think we can probably wrap it up there then. I will... I should probably publish this mod, shouldn't I? That's the last step. So let's go back to the main menu. And I'm going to publish this so that if people want to, so that you can link it if you wanted to, but so that we've got a basic mod for people to look at it when they're starting to learn Rival AI. So if we go to load game, I will make a thumbnail for this at a later stage. For the moment, I'll just leave this thumbnail-less. So if we go to build test, edit settings, mods. My mod list takes forever to load. I really need to clean out a lot of the mods that I've got from years ago that no longer work at all. But I'm hesitant to do a lot of it because I used so many of them in the old machinima stuff. So, Rival AI tutorial. Publish. Yes. And this is NPC. Yeah. Okay. Yes. So let's just do a couple of quick things. Add remove contributors. There we go. Lucas, you should get a thing about that in a second.
Ready?
Add required items. Hello. Why you no work? Alright, let's do this in Chrome instead, because Steam's in-game browser sucks. Subscribed items. Need modular encounter spawner. I hate this list. I hate the way that we can't search it, the way that it's... You can't even expand it, and the way that as soon as you add something, it resets the scroll position. Creating collections is such a hassle. And then Rival AI. Don't need anything else beyond that. Save and continue. Edit title and description. This is a basic mod setup for Rival AI as an example for you to build your own. Spawn an atmospheric cargo ship that will get support from drones if the player moves too close or damages the cargo ship. That's probably all the info I need to put in there right now. I'm sure we can update that later. And that's it. So I'll just drop this in chat for anyone who wants to. Oh, super happy. Oh, don't bring up that, man. That was so annoying. Yeah, Vlad, keen of, well, my video tutorials are a bit better than theirs. Although the Xbox tutorial for controls that Zockley did recently, I think he actually did a really good job. So I have been recommending that to people who are asking about the Xbox controls. But there we go. We have a tutorial Rival AI mod that people can look at if you want to try and make your own. Hopefully this stream will help people be able to make their own, because at the moment, between Super Happy, myself, Lucas, there are about another 4 or 5 creators who are making packs for Rival AI and MES, and I think all of us would love for more people to do it. The more people that do it, the more variety we get for players, and the more fun little concepts that come up and get created. And I think Rival AI is giving us a huge opportunity to create some really cool encounters. Thank you so much, Lucas, for helping me with this today, and all the other help you've given me, and for coming along.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
It was very much appreciated. Hopefully I can start taking this and updating the assertive cargo ships and planetary installations mods and all that sort of stuff. Bringing some fun variety in. So guys, if you've got any questions about this, I will be posting this over on the Flipsy YouTube channel 24 hours from now, because I can't do it before then. Twitch doesn't let me. They can always be posted there, or pop them on the tutorial page. Lucas and myself will read that and reply to you guys. Another thing, for those of you who don't, yeah, Lucas has got his YouTube channel and his Patreon page once you're able to support, I think supporting people like him is well worth it, which is why I do. Yeah, hopefully I'll be back with some more streams next week, because at the moment it looks like I don't have an excessive amount of work. I'm thinking I will start implementing this into assertive cargo ships in a stream next week at some point. And I'm also in the process of working through an airtightness tutorial. So there is all that and plenty more to come. And we'll see you then. Thanks again for coming, Lucas.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
See you later, everyone.